What's up guys, hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be walking you through the Fae vs Undead 2021 event questline for Trove. I'll also be covering any additional information or tips that I have on limited time event drops and more. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, as it really helps to support the channel. The description of this video will have timestamps named after each step of the event quests, so feel free to check those out to skip to specific parts of the event. This event lasts until September 28th, 2021 at 7 AM Eastern Standard Time. I'll also be giving my opinion on the event at the end of the video, so stick around for that if you want to see how I feel about the whole event. To start off the event, first talk to Scullard on the east side of the hub world. This will reward you immediately with 1 token of Undead Honor. The next step requires you to defeat enemies in Cursed Vale tombs. These can be found in the Cursed Vale biome only, so I recommend heading over to the Cursed Vale world to find these. The tombs are pretty noticeable since they cover a large area and also have a slightly different color on the map compared to a normal biome. I also recommend using whatever setup you have for rampage events, which basically means get as much attack speed as you can possibly have, since these enemies only take 1 damage per hit no matter what. The Dracolite is my class of choice, but the Tomb Raiser is also another solid option. Once you've defeated 10 enemies in the Cursed Vale tombs, you'll receive 5 tokens of Undead Honor, and you'll move on to the next step. Now head back to the hub world and talk to the Fae Prince on top of the mushroom on the east side of the hub. After this, it's time to find and defeat enemies in the Fae Forest tombs, which is basically the same thing as the Cursed Vale tombs, except for the fact that these tombs are in the Fae Forest biome. The fastest way to get this done is to head to the Fae Forest Uber 1 world, since the majority of biomes there are Fae Forest. Once inside, simply defeat 10 enemies again and progress to the next step of the quest. The next step is to defeat 5 invaders, which I think is meant to mean the Shadow Giant invaders, but instead we're going to defeat another type of enemy. To quickly complete this step, head to the Uber 8 Shores of the Everdark adventure world. Find the nearest dungeon, activate the skulls, and defeat 5 enemies total in the area. I also unfortunately wasn't able to get this on recording, but on my main account, this step of the quest just randomly completed while I was sitting AFK in my cornerstone in an Uber adventure world. I have literally no idea how this happened, and there weren't even any invaders nearby, but don't be surprised if your quest randomly completes itself before you even get to the Everdark. Step 6 is actually quite tedious, since we have to fight 4 Fae bosses in the Cursed Vale tombs. As expected, we're going to be heading over to the Cursed Vale adventure world to search for these tombs. This is pretty straightforward, since all you have to do is look for the giant enemies inside the tombs, but it did take me quite a while since the bosses tend to be very spread out, and each tomb is essentially a maze. After defeating 4 Cursed Vale tomb bosses, we surprisingly have an even more tedious task of finding buried treasure in a tomb. Not only did it take me around 30 minutes to find some buried treasure, but buried treasure can only be found once per day in each biome, for a total of 2 treasures per day. Out of my daily treasure, I got 5 tokens of Fae Honor, and now I have to wait until tomorrow to open another chest. I have no idea if these have anything good in them, since I can't farm for them at all, but feel free to let me know in the comments if you guys get anything of use out of these. This quest also gives you the Undead Target Dummy, which I'll mention a bit more at the end of the video. After digging up the treasure, it's back to defeating more bosses, this time in the Fae Forest biome. Once again, we'll be heading over to the Uber 1 Fae Forest adventure world, since it has the most Fae Forest biomes available. For this step, I did exactly as I did for the previous step in the Cursed Vale, so I searched the Fae Forest tombs to defeat 4 different bosses. Once you've defeated 4 more tomb bosses, this time from the Fae Forest tombs, your last step is to craft a Tomb Terraformer. To do this, visit either of the crafting benches next to the NPCs that you talked to earlier on the east side of the hub world, and craft a Terraformer. Terraformers can be used in club worlds to destroy any existing structures and transform the area into a specific biome. I personally crafted an Undead Tomb Terraformer using the top crafting bench, since I had more tokens of Fae Honor than I did tokens of Undead Honor. I then immediately sold my Terraformer on the marketplace since I have literally no use for a Terraformer. After crafting your Terraformer, you'll receive a Fae target dummy, and you're all done with the event quests. Now that we've gone over the event quests, it's time for the bonus part of the video where I talk about a few extra things that I noticed in the event. First things first, the 2 target dummies that you received as a reward for previous quests are actually pretty neat. The Undead and Fae target dummies can be placed in a club world or cornerstone, and basically act like an immobile enemy. You can hit them, root them, and actually use them as a target dummy. Unfortunately, they don't actually show you any useful stats like damage per second, total damage dealt, or anything like that, but regardless, these are a pretty cool addition that we got for free. The price of these will change as time goes on, but while I'm recording this, each target dummy is going for around 10 to 20,000 flux. So if you're desperate for some quick flux, you can just sell these. The next bonus tip that I wanted to give is that Terraformers can actually drop as rare drops from enemies in tombs. While I was farming earlier in the event, I found a Fae Tombs Terraformer from a random enemy in the tomb that wasn't even a boss. The last thing I wanted to do before I wrap up the video is give my personal opinion on the event. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the event. My first problem with the event was the fact that enemies only take 1 damage from any source. This is basically the devs' way of making the event take as long as possible for late game players. Instead of being able to fly through the event, we're severely limited by damage caps on basic enemies. The second problem with the event, which is my main problem, adds on to the fact that basic event enemies limit how much damage we can deal to them. On top of enemies taking a while to defeat, we also have to defeat a ton of enemies to farm the currency that's needed. I was really hoping to show off the Tome Digger mount in this video, but it requires 1,000 of both event currencies. This means that I'd have to defeat around 5,000 or more of both biomes' enemies to get the mount. Since from my findings, I typically only got 1 currency for around every 5 enemies that I defeated. And lastly, the final problem that I have with the event is the daily treasures. I actually was pretty excited about searching for these rare treasures throughout the tombs, since it gives me something to do on top of fighting the enemies inside. But for whatever reason, they decided to limit it to 1 single treasure in each biome per day. In the end, I wouldn't consider this event a total failure since it had some parts that I liked, but I don't think I'll be farming this event at all personally. That's it for this video. Hopefully it helped you guys through the event quests. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have any questions about any of the steps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.